Shaykh Khalid Yasin. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you for being with us. Let's start the show with a simple question. Who is Shaykh Khalid Yasin?
Shaykh Khalid Yasin is an American citizen, Muslim by faith, and world traveler and international lecturer. Father of 13 children and grandfather of 37.
13 children?
And 37 grandchildren.
37 grandchildren. If we look at your own time when you were a child, could you describe your childhood for us? Because you grew up in Brooklyn?
Well, I think I had a very rich childhood. I have 9 siblings, and we grew up, I guess, in a very simple setting. We might say that we grew up poor but principled. I was born a Christian, so religion and Jesus Christ in particular was a very much part of my life. So I think that becoming a Muslim was a natural progression for me.
Yeah. But you also said I felt rich during my childhood. Could you define that for us? What did you mean by rich?
Well, I was born in 1946, so when I arrived at the higher part of my adolescence, this was the turbulent 60s, very controversial era, very trying time in American history.
We had the background of civil rights, we had Malcolm X during that time,
exactly.
And Black Panthers.
So therefore, I think that contributed a lot towards the development of my maturity.
Yeah. There was a certain point in which you decided to convert to Islam. Could you tell us what made you convert?
Abdullah, we who accept Islam and embrace Islam from another faith, we don't like to use the term convert. We like the word revert.
Revert. Returning to Islam.
Well, returning to our natural disposition, according to our belief that Almighty God created the human being with a natural inclination and disposition towards faith and belief and good conduct. The religious orientation that people adopt, usually from their parents or from their culture or from their society or from the influences around them. So that's what makes them a Hindu, Buddhist, or whatever. So I was a Christian by natural causes, and when I became a Muslim, it was because I was exposed to the Quran. I was exposed to the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. I was exposed to the principles of Islam, and I found after that exposure that there wasn't really there shouldn't be any hesitancy on my part to accept the premises of Islam. So I thought...
And how were you exposed?
Well, reading, observation. The Encyclopedia Britannica probably provided me with the best information that I could have received. It wasn't somebody proselytizing or somebody campaigning or trying to introduce Islam to me. No, the word Islam was in the news. There was a group of people called the Nation of Islam. I had read something about Islam in school. But on one particular occasion, I was riding the train, I can remember, and there was an article in the New York Times.
And you were a student at that time?
That's correct. And that article in the New York Times was a letter written by the person better known as Malcolm X about his experience in Mecca. And I was very surprised what he said about Mecca, what he said about Islam, about the Quran, about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. Because in school I hadn't really understood those terminologies. So because this was an epiphany in his life when he went to Mecca, he thought himself to be a minister of the Nation of Islam. But when he went to Mecca, he found he didn't know anything about Islam.
But reading that, what did you read which changed your view of Islam? Or
I immediately went to the Encyclopedia Britannica because I wanted to know those terminologies. I want to know this Islam, what is that?
So you were looking up everything?
Yeah, this terminology, Quran, what is that? Who is this man, Muhammad? So it was the Encyclopedia Britannica that provided me what I consider to be the universal information, that non-subjective information. And so from that information, I started looking into Islam just from an investigative point of view. And after some time, I compared it with the Christian values that I already had. I found no antagonism, no hostility, and no problem. I just saw Islam as a natural progression to my Christian experience.